All right. Well, hey, I wanted to come on here today and just talk briefly about the CIA exam. If you're an internal audit, you've probably heard of the Certified Internal Audit Auditor certification. So, I want to talk a little bit about that today because what I'm finding is people get into this and they don't really understand what they're getting into. And so today is kind of a public service announcement. You'll probably see from the headline that it typically costs people $10,000 or more to actually get that certification. And I understand you might be saying, no, that's not true. But I'm going to go through and do a little bit of math with you today because I get a lot of people that sign up for one of the groups that I have on LinkedIn that helps people prepare for the CIA exam. And recently, I've had a lot of people that are still even in university or brand new in their career, and they get all excited. They want to get the CIA, and often they don't really realize what they're getting themselves into. So let me kind of explain that and share with you today, because again, I get a lot of questions from people on social media about this. So your first thought might be it does not cost $10,000, Jason. That is just garbage, right? Well, let me explain to you a little bit about how it works. In order to get that certification, there are three different exams that you actually have to pass, and in order for you to get certified, okay. So you have to study, you have to go through and pass these exams, pay some fees, take some time to study in order for you to be able to get that certification. So let's just start doing some math really quick. And again, it's the intention of this video is not to badmouth the CIA at all. It is a great certification, but I just want to make sure that people who are getting into it actually know what they're getting themselves into. Because what I find is a lot of times people start this journey. In fact, I'll usually talk to people and I'll say, "So where are you in the CIA journey?" And a lot of times that kind of confuses people because they're like, "What do you mean?" Right? I live in Egypt or wherever, right? And it's like, no, there's a journey that you take in order to get certified. And for most people, that's years. Most people, it takes 2 to 3 years for them to get certified. So let's start doing the math because again, I know you're probably a little skeptical and like, Jason, you're full of shit. Doesn't cost that much. So here's the deal. I told you there's three exams. Okay. Now, before you can even take the exams, you have to apply. You have to pay $250 to apply. And then I think each of the exams is about $250. So the first time you register for each exam, the application fee, you're into it already, $1,000. Okay. Now, if that was all that it was, then fine. But here's the reality is most people have to take those exams multiple times. In fact, on average, people take the first part of the exam 2 to 3 times. They take the second part of the exam 1 to 2 times, and they take the third part of the exam anywhere from 3 to 5 times. So what that means is each time you take the exam, you also have to pay another exam fee. So for most people, you're going to spend $1,000 to begin with. You're going to spend another $1,000 to $2,000 on retaking the exams. Now, again, that's a cost or an investment that a lot of people don't realize when they're getting into it. Okay, so I want to make sure that everybody's clear on that. So that's the first part of the math, and it gets you to $2,000. Pretty simple, just in the cost to take the exams. Okay, let's talk about some of the other costs. Because again, this is one of those things that a lot of people don't realize when they're trying to make a decision, which I often find ironic because some of the questions on the exam relate to questions around decision making and sunk costs and other things like that unfortunately it seems like a lot of people don't actually understand. So let's talk about some of those other things as well. Okay. And again, I'm just going through, I'm showing you how it really does take most people $10,000. And at the end of this video, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about some other options that are available now that weren't available a few years ago that you might be interested in. Okay, so you paid for the exams, you paid for your application fee, you're probably into it between $2,000 to $3,000. Now, the next thing you have to do is you've got to study for the exam. Okay, again, this is three different exams that are between 100 and 125 questions each that cover a lot of topics. Okay, so you need to buy some sort of study materials, whether that's, a book to read, go to a course, do something online. I do offer some things through the Mefford CIA course on that, but you're going to have to do something to study and learn the material so you can pass the exam. Okay. Now, on the cheap end, the cheapest stuff that you can get is several $100s. So maybe around $800. We'll just call it 1,000. Okay. So already, like I said, you're into it $2,000 to $3,000. Then you have to buy study material, which is going to add another 1,000 to it. So you're already at $3,000 to $4,000 that you've invested. Now, again, I'm telling you this because it's kind of tricky. You get nickel and dimed and you don't realize how much you're paying until you get into it. And again, the reason why I'm doing this today is because I see a lot of people that spend years sometimes trying to pass this exam and then quit. And they don't realize how much they've actually invested in it. So before you go down that route, before you spend all this time and money away from your family and from other things that you'd rather be buying, just make sure that you're making the right decision. Okay. So that's the first part, the exams, the application fees, study materials as well. Now, the other thing that most people don't actually think about is how much time it takes to study. Okay, because there is value in your time, right? I'm guessing that you would rather be spending time with your friends and family, having fun, instead of having to study, right? Going back to school again, effectively, to study for this. So again, these are kind of typical numbers that I'm just going to share with you, but typically, right, people will spend at least 100 hours per exam. Okay, and I told you before, there's 3 exams, right? So you're probably going to spend at least 300 hours studying for the exams. Now, how much does that actually cost you? Well, how much is your time worth? Okay. And again, I'm guessing I'm making very conservative estimates here, but I'm guessing your time is worth at least $10 an hour. Okay. And how do I know that? Because especially here in the US, not a very good paying job. Flipping burgers at McDonald's or, working places like that, you're going to earn $10 an hour. So you probably should at least, right, give yourself credit for $10 an hour, if not 20 or 30 or 50, right, depending on how much money you make. So when you start to add that up now too, and again, we'll use the conservative number of $10 per hour, you're going to spend between 300 probably to 500 hours of studying. That means that the cost for you to study is going to be somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000 of your time. Okay. And so because of that, right, you need to consider that when you're thinking about and doing this. And Kavita, I see your question on here. I'll answer that here in just a minute. So with that, right, you've got the testing and test and application fees. So you're into it 2,000 to 3,000. You're into it at least another 1,000, if not 2,000, for study materials, and then you're going to be somewhere between $3,000 to $5,000 of your time away from your friends and family and work in order to study for it. Okay, and so as a result of that, that's where the $10,000 number comes from. Whether you realize it or not, that is, in fact, what it ends up costing most people, or what they have to invest in order to get the CIA certification. So that's the first part of this, because again, I just wanted to make sure that everybody is clear on that, because a lot of times people get in here and they're like, oh, it's only a couple $100, and oh, it's only a couple $100. And before they realize it, they've shelled out $2,000, $3,000, not thinking that it was anywhere near that for them to do that. Okay. So wanted to talk a little bit about that. Now I know, I mean, those of you that are on live with me right now, or if you have comments or questions about it, put them in the comments as well. And I'm going to go back and try to answer those that I can. I'll answer what I can live here today, and then I'll try to go back again. Sometimes the comments get a little bit lost, so apologize for that if that's the case. But Kavita asked, what's the best prep course for CIA exam? Now, there are a lot of different options that are out there. And so I know, Anka, you said Gleim. It may or it may not be. So maybe let me talk a little bit about that. There are several different study courses that are out there. Probably the most popular is Gleim, and the one that the IIA does. I think they call it their CIA learning system. Those two are probably the most popular. Now, are they the best? Well, best is a subjective word, okay? What is going to be best for you may not be what is best for other people. And so thanks both of you for bringing this up, because unfortunately, this is one of those areas where people don't give it much thought. They throw a question like that out there on social media and say, what's the best course? And somebody goes, Gleim is the best. Gleim worked well for me. Well, just because it worked well for them, do you think it's going to work well for you? Maybe, maybe not, right? So the first thing is there really is no best, okay, prep course to prepare for this. Now, let me tell you a little bit about how most people actually do their prep courses. Usually what it is they give you a book. They give you a book that you get to read. And literally, I could go pull them off the shelf over here, but you get like 3 or 4 books that are about this thick, hundreds and hundreds of pages that they expect you to go through and read. And they might give you a few sample questions. And we might talk about sample questions later and how they actually hurt you and make you fail. They increase your chances of failing, which I know seems counterintuitive, but that's the truth for me, having done this for many, many, many years. Okay. So maybe we'll talk about that again here in just a minute. But anyway, so what is best, right? Well, what I can tell you is reading a book is the worst way you can learn. In fact, reading a book, you only comprehend and retain maybe 10% of what you read. So if you're doing a course where all you're doing is reading a book, and believe me, the books are boring. Okay. I hear that from so many people that they're boring. It's boring to read it. It's hard to stay awake while you're doing it. Again, you can kind of see, right? One of the reasons why that is the lowest form of learning. But again, that's what most people do. They just give you a PDF, they give you books, and they just tell you, go read the book, and then you're going to be fine. Do some sample questions, and then you're going to be fine. Well, that doesn't work for most people. And how do I know it doesn't work for most people? Because only about 20% of people, somewhere between 20 to 40% of people pass the exam each time. Okay. Now, if only 20 to 40% of people are passing, that means that 60% or more of people are passing, or 60% or more of people are failing each time they take the exam. Now, what does that tell you about how good the study material is? Well, I mean, imagine again, if your child was in a class where the teacher was failing 60% of the people, I would say that teacher doesn't really know what they're talking about, and they're not very effective at teaching, right? So which one's the best course? Well, if those are the ones that most people are using and most people are failing, are they really the best? I don't know, right? But again, best is something that is subjective. And so for each person, different ones may be better for them. Okay, so that's kind of going there. I know, Anka, you said you visited my website about part 3. But the package is for the full course, I believe. Okay, so let me explain. Just because you brought that up, let me explain a little bit about the option that I provide. which is the Mefford CIA review course. There's information about it at meffordcia.com. But again, I'll try to post some of the stuff on here as well about that if you're interested in it. So what I do is, yes, I have a package that includes all three parts of the exam. So it's much cheaper for you, obviously, if you purchase everything at one time. But I do also offer individual parts. So, for example, Ankit, I don't know if you only have part 3 left. I do offer options for you to be able to just do part 3. And those courses are over on Sea Risk Academy. Now, what's the difference in what I do? Because again, several years ago, I mean, hell, I used it was actually, I can't remember if it was Gleim or Wiley when I took it 20 some years ago, because that was the only option, right? And a lot of times people think that is the only option. Well, it's not the only option. That's why I'm on here telling you today, okay? Because I looked at it and realized, again, if 60% of people are failing using what's available, it's probably not working for people. So what could I do different to be able to help people pass quicker, right? Because I don't want you to be studying, in your off hours for years. I'd rather have you just pass those exams as quick as you can. So again, I've been teaching people for a long time. I understand how humans learn as well. And what I will tell you is we don't learn very well just by reading. We learn better by actually using multisensory learning, which is an approach that I developed on how best to actually learn by activating more of your senses during the learning process. Okay. And so because of that, I developed a whole course. It's all video based. It's all self-study on demand. So you can go through and literally watch videos of me explaining the content. And why? Why would I do that, right? Well, because again, the difference is if you just read a book, you're going to be lucky to get 10%. But if you sit and listen to videos and you listen to videos multiple times, the repetition and things that are going on, plus the fact that you're actually consuming video content, all of a sudden you jump up to 60 or 70% retention, which means, again, you'd have to read the book 6 or 7 times for one time of watching the video. I don't know, which one would you rather do? If you'd rather read the book, go read a book, right? But there are these video options that are available. Now, that brings up something else too, and really regardless of which prep course you're using, I do offer another course that is called the 90-Day CIA Success Plan and Multisensory Learning. Because here's what I've actually learned. The CIA exam, one of the big reasons why people fail is not because of the academics. It's because of what's going on up in here. You're convincing yourself that you can't pass. And so, surprise, next time you take the exam, you ain't going to pass. And the problem is, if you've failed exams multiple times, you start to believe subconsciously that you cannot pass the exam. And so I've literally, worked with people after they haven't passed 4 or 5 times, and they're like, please help me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Well, what they're doing wrong typically is they've convinced themselves they can't pass. And so whatever they do, they're going to, right? Your subconscious is going to manifest that to you. And so you're not going to fail next time. So because of that, that's why I have a separate course as well. It's included in the bundle for all 3 of them. But, Ankit, I don't know if this would be helpful for you as well, if you've been struggling there. But let me explain kind of what that does. Okay. Is in the 90-day success plan, there's a few things that I do that nobody else is doing. The first one is actually explain to you how your brain works and how you study, how you learn, and come up with a study plan for you to be able to tailor and decide how best you are going to study. It shows you how to start your study, day, what to do, how to wrap up the next day, what you do when you start. And one of the reasons for that is in what I'm showing or sharing with you there, it actually is helping you get past what's called the forgetting curve. And so the forgetting curve, what that is we tend to forget, usually within just even 30 days, about 90% of what we have learned. So typically, if you're just studying normally, you're going to forget 90% of what you just learned in 30 days, unless you know how to study, which is what I'm sharing with you in that course on how to, through repetition and some other things that you're actually doing, make sure that you don't lose that much. Now, it's also set up in 90 days because, again, because of the forgetting curve, what I find a lot of people do that's a mistake is they say, well, I'm going to study for a whole year because I really want to be prepared next time I take the exam. The problem is, if you study for a whole year, you're going to forget almost everything that you just spent time learning over the last year. And so it's better to do cycles of 60 to 90 days. And I explain that in the course. Now, the other thing is multisensory learning, again, of teaching you more about how your brain actually works, how to do studying a little bit different. And again, it's not the way you were taught in school. Okay. I'll tell you that right now, because what's usually taught in school is garbage. They don't teach you, they teach you how to memorize things. They don't teach you how to learn things. And there's a big difference. And if you really think you can memorize 100-page books, unless you got a photographic memory, good luck, right? You're going to forget it. And so why not instead, end up learning how to study, how to remember it, how to not, have that forgetting curve come up. But the other thing that's included in there as well are some subconscious, what's called self-hypnosis audios that you can listen to, and it will literally reprogram your brain. Now, how do I know this works? Because I use self-hypnosis in my own life in other areas. And I actually had one of my friends who is a world-renowned hypnotist actually create some hypnosis audios specifically for people that are trying to pass the CIA exam. So things to help you subconsciously become more confident in how you're studying, in what you're learning, and even in being confident on the day that you walk in to take the exam. Okay. So like I said, because of that, that information is there as well. And that's included in that 90-day CIA success and multisensory learning course. So that is a separate course on C-Risk Academy as well. If that's all that you want, if you want to use Gleim, if you want to use IIA, if you want to use Hawk or whoever else, but you want that extra little stuff that I was just talking about, you can get just that course and then use whatever prep course you want, right? I don't care whether you use my prep course. I just want you to pass the exam. But obviously, if you want a video option where it's somebody who's actually been there and done that, and be able to take a lot of those concepts and translate them into something that you can actually understand, that's what's in that video course that I have as well. Okay. So, again, anybody who's on with me live, if you've got any other questions, I think I've answered some of those questions there. But I promised you at the beginning too that I was going to talk about some other options. Okay, because again, some of you may be saying, "Yep, CIA is what I want to do. I'm willing to put in a couple of years worth of time to get it." Others of you might be saying, "Holy shit, 2-3 years? Are you kidding me? I don't have 2 or 3 years to wait to get a certification and get a better job." Because here's one of the tricky things is, with the CIA, you also have to have 2 years of experience before they'll give you the certification. So the idea is you start the certification, you get a job in internal audit, you work for 2 years, you pass the exams over that period of time, then you get your certification. But here's the problem. A lot of people won't hire you unless you have a certification. But how can you get the CIA if you don't have experience, because you can't get a job because you don't have a certification? Right? That's a horrible position to be in. You want to get into the profession, but you can't do it because you don't have a certification, but you can't get a certification because you're not in the profession. And so it leaves a lot of people really struggling and not knowing what to do. So the other thing is to share with you some of the modern certification options. Now, I've developed many different certifications over my career. I've helped people actually develop certifications that thousands, tens of thousands of people have gone through over time. And so, I looked at that and said, you know what, how can we change certifications? Because this old traditional, really academic method where you've got exams that are tricky that you're trying to make sure that people fail, because the traditional thought in certifications is the fewer people that have them, the more valuable they are to the people who already have them. Well, I think that's bullshit. Okay. Certifications are valuable in helping you to do your job better. And the more people that can get certified, the more value there is, and the more value it provides to your organization, to you in your career, in whatever. And so, because of that, I worked with C-Risk Academy and a lot of other, world-class instructors in certain topical areas specific to internal audit to help you be able to get certifications in 1 to 2 months instead of years, right? So again, if you're one of those people that's like, you know what, I don't want to spend years trying to get the CIA, but I need a certification and I want something that's actually going to help me do my job better, then check out some of the certifications that C-Risk Academy has. I put a link in here in the description area. You can go over and check those out, but here's what I'll tell you. Those are actually practical things that will help you do your job better. They're not academic. They're not based in theory, to where you still have to kind of translate what that means for you and how you're going to do, what you're doing. But they're actually practical, and they're things that'll help you get a job as well. Okay. And like I said, if you'd rather take the 1 to 2 month route, then do that. Now, I'm gonna give you a little heads up on this. Okay. When you go over there, you're going to find out that the certifications are $2,000 to $3,000. And at first you might go, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. Compared to what? Okay. So if you remember the beginning of this video, we just talked to you about the fact that you're going to spend probably $10,000 or more to get your CIA. So $2,000 to $3,000 is pretty cheap, especially when that's all you ever have to pay. There's no testing fee. There's no separate fee for you to be able to get training materials. Everything is included for that price. Everything you need to study, to take the exam, to pass the exam. Now, the exam also is not meant to trick you, right? The idea is, did you learn the material? Yes or no? And so the questions are very practical. They're very clear and easy to understand because nobody's trying to trick you to limit how many people actually have that certification. Okay. And what happens if you don't pass the first time? You take it again. There's no testing fee. You just refresh and take the test again until you score well enough to be able to get certified. So again, my intention here again was just to try to be clear to people, because I think again there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings out there about certifications today, and especially about the CIA exam. So hopefully this helps. Again, if you've got questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try to get to them if I can. Obviously, you can also try to just direct message me on social media as well. I'm most active on LinkedIn. But try to look everywhere else. And I know since people brought up, let me go ahead and put in the comments too. Hopefully it'll post in the comments information about the course that I have, which is meffordscia.com. Actually, let me do this here real quick. So I'll try to put it in the posts here. So it should show up in the posts. But let me go ahead and put it on the screen here for you too, so that you can actually see it if you're watching the video. Add banner. There we go. So there it is. It's meffordcia.com is where you can go to find out more information about what I'm offering. Again, these are self-study courses. It's all, you go through, do the course on your own. And so there's more information about what I'm offering there. And it is available in individual parts. So if you only need part 1 or part 2 or part 3 individually, you can get it that way. You can save when you get everything together. In that other course that I talked about as well, that is the 90-day success plan, multisensory learning that includes those hypnosis audios. Those things are available as a separate course as well. And all my courses are over on C-Risk Academy. So you can always go over here to ondemand.criskacademy.com and be able to search. There's one of the topic options because you can filter based on topics that you're interested in. And so if you search, one of them I think is called CIA exam or something like that. If you filter on that, it will show all of those different course options that I have up there as well. So let me check and see if we got any more comments here. Kavita, this was helpful. Thanks. You are welcome. That's one of the reasons, again, why I want to come on here every so often and just explain this. Again, if you miss this live, again, you can still comment on it here. Also, because I'm always streaming to YouTube. You can always find that over on YouTube as well, on my YouTube channel. And I'll probably, when this gets done, I'll put a post up on my website as well, jasonmefford.com, so that if you want to, you can go back and find it there as well. So with that, have a great day. I'll hang out just for a couple of seconds here in case anybody has any other comments or questions to come through. But hope you found this helpful. If you did, and other people that are in the same position, please make sure and share this with other people. Because again, my whole purpose today is I don't care whether you use my product or not. Okay. I just want to make sure that you do what's best for you. And if this is what you want to do, go do it. But at least go in with your eyes open and know what exactly you're getting yourself into. And again, if CIA is not right for you, or maybe you've already done it and you want some other certifications to help you get your next job, then make sure and check out those new certification options over at C-Risk Academy, because that's the future. Okay. So with that, have a great rest of your day, everybody, and I'll see you later.